Then at 6 years old, I read that you sang your first solo.
Yeah. But I did love music for, I think, the whole time that I was growing up. God just stopped me. Like, he didn't audibly speak to me, but I'm sure you had those whispers or nudges. And he said that my daughter needed a dad, and that my wife needed a husband. And it just shook me. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I would say we left Nashville like 3 months later. And I couldn't be happier. I mean, I'm doing what I love to do. So it's been a blessing.
Welcome to the One Pebble Podcast. Listeners, thank you for joining us today. Today is a fun and exciting day. Today in studio, we have Jeff James. He is a singer, musician, songwriter, live looper. Did I say that right?
Live looper.
Live looper. He is a husband to Debbie, I believe, of 25 years.
Yeah, 26 now.
26 now.
Yep.
He is a dad to Danielle and son James, daughter Danielle.
Yes.
And I will say that he is someone that my husband and I have admired for decades. So we are both, are you 52?
I'm 52. Yeah.
I'm also 52. Yeah. He grew up in the town just north of me, New London, Minnesota, and graduated in 1991. Yep. And God has had him on an amazing life journey, the 30 plus years since graduating from high school. And I have to tell you, Jeff, before we hear your life story, again, you're someone that we've truly looked up to and admired for decades. And the reason is we've seen many of your performances, and you have brought light and joy and been a gift to our community, to our state, to many places here in the U.S. and actually across the world. He has 9,000 performances. No. 5,000 performances under his belt, 9 albums under his belt, plus a live CD. And just so proud. But the Jeff James that I have known, I've always known you to be an amazing musician, a person that has a strong belief in your faith, a family man, but I haven't known your whole life story. And so as we've listened to you time and time again, and you brought joy to us through your music, and we can tell that you love people and you have a huge heart. Oh, yeah. We've always wondered, what is Jeff James's life story? And so when I started this podcast, I quickly decided he is someone that I want to dig into his heart, hear his story. And as I've been preparing for today, you have a remarkable life story. And so thank you so much for saying yes to the One Pebble podcast. And we're super excited to hear your heart and to learn from your story. Really appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, it's absolutely my pleasure. I've loved the podcast. I've been listening to it for quite a while, and it's just been fantastic. So I'm honored to be a part of it. Really honored.
Thank you. Jeff, what has you excited these days? Give us a update before we get into your life story. What have you been excited about this fall?
I mean, we're getting into the fall where we're starting to do Facebook Live shows now because I don't have as much work as I typically do during the summertime. Those are exciting times because I can spend time at home with my wife, but we still get to do music. So it's kind of like combining the things that I love. You know, I love performing, love being with my wife and my family. The only thing that's absent from that would be like people. People are online, they listen, and we have a community and they go back and forth, but I don't get to see them. So as far as just, I think, digging into more of what God has in store for me next, as I'm kind of making my journey, as we're all making our journeys here, what is it that he wants me to do next? What's he trying to teach me through this season? I think that's kind of the excitement that I have, if that makes sense.
I love that. And I think that's a good message for all of us, to be excited and to be really seeking what God has next for us. Jeff, when I read a little bit about your life timeline and story, you were adopted at 5 years old, and you talked about being adopted into the most remarkable family. You said to me that you could not have asked for better parents. Tell us about a little bit about your family, about being adopted, and start your story from when you were little.
Okay. I was adopted when I was just about 5. So before that, I was in a foster home for a couple, since I was a baby. I found out a little bit later. But from, I think, up until 2, I was in one foster home. And then the second foster home, I was between 3 and 4 and 4.5. And so I remember those times. It's odd that people can remember those times, but I have some very vivid memories of that time when I was there. And probably the biggest memory that I have is my foster dad, Jerry, would keep me up late at night, which is maybe why I'm a night owl now. And we would listen to old records. He'd just put them on, and I would listen to, he had like Boxcar Willie and Hank Sr. and Willie Nelson, all of these artists. Of course, I did not know any of them, but I'd like this was my little world right there. And I think that was my introduction to music, and that always stuck with me. And then, so when I was adopted, all of a sudden I had an older brother. I'd never had that before. I had 2 foster sisters before that. So he was a couple years older than me, Eric. And so that's kind of the journey that I took into adoption. It was an odd thing because all I ever knew was being in a foster home, which is normal to me. So people might think, oh, it's too bad, but that's just what life was at that time. So then when you get adopted, then it's just kind of like a whole new scary thing at first. I don't even remember how I felt, but, I had a family. So that was kind of just going from here to there. And yeah, it was a great family. Very strong family values. We didn't try to screw up too much because, but it was, my mom and dad were both hard workers. My dad owns a construction company, was general contractor, and my mom showed how she worked hard in going back to school when she was, when I was in first grade, and then she ended up getting a business degree. So she became the business administrator of the school district. So both of them were really good role models for, hardworking and doing the work,
My parents know your parents and speak so highly of your mom and dad. And I just know that your mom and dad could not be more proud of you. Then at 6 years old, I read that you sang your first solo.
Yeah.
And tell us about that.
That was not my intention. But in church choir, it was a Christmas play. And my friend Matt and I were going to do a duet and sing Silent Night together. So the night of it came and Matt backed out. So all of a sudden you have me just singing solo. And I don't know if I had an accompaniment back, piano going on but yeah, that was my first memory of singing in front of people. And I didn't like it. It was not like the highlight of my life at that point. But I did love music for, I think, the whole time that I was growing up.
But you remember being young and loving music.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you talk about, I believe it's John.
Yeah. Yep.
Tell us about John.
For sure.
And your pastor, did he loan you his acoustic guitar?
That's part of the story.
So tell us how this began with the guitar and John, and just how music kind of took root in your heart.
That is true. That's what happened. John moved from Colorado. He was a couple of years younger than me, and he was just a really nice guy, and him and I became very fast friends. His parents owned a resort on Nest, and so in the summertime, he had a cabin that he would stay in. So I'd go and visit him. We'd hang out in the cabin. He had a guitar in the corner, and then he would show me some of the things that he'd learned on it, and I'm like, that's really cool. I'd never really seen like an electric guitar especially. And during that time, I was going to confirmation at our church, and so I had a really good relationship with our pastor. He was fantastic. He's a pastor who played basketball, and we just connected on that kind of level. And I saw a guitar in his corner of his office one day, and he's like, do you want to take it home? And I'm like, really? Like, I knew nothing about the guitar. He's like, yeah, go ahead. And it was a classical guitar. The action on it was like about this high, which means, you can't, when you're trying to push it down, it takes a lot of work. But I didn't care. And John made some chord charts. He just drew them out for me. And then we would start learning songs together. And I can't remember at that time if we were probably singing together, but probably I didn't think about that much. And so that was kind of the start of our like musical relationship. That was just, I think that was the glue that kept us together, as we just had that thing that bound us that nobody else had. Like we became best friends. We're still best friends to this day. And so he taught me how to play guitar, and then I started teaching myself how to play guitar.
How old were you?
I was 15, I think, when I got my first guitar.
And did you feel passionate, like it was something you loved
Absolutely.
From day one?
Yep.
Jeff, I have to tell you, and I'm so not proud of this, I've quit very few things in my life. I've wanted to be a guitar player my entire life. I'm a guitar player wannabe. My dad loves to play guitar. I'd love to be able to play his guitar someday.
Yeah.
I've quit guitar lessons 3 times, thinking I was too busy. I would have been so good by now had I stuck with it.
Yeah.
But you didn't do what I did. You didn't quit. You stuck with it. And you are such an accomplished guitar player, as just one example. So then at 15 years old, you learned to play guitar and you loved it. Did you ever think that music would be a career?
Oh, at that point, that was my career.
Really? So at that time,
I think that was kind of where I was when I first started kind of getting that. I shouldn't say that right there, but I think when we did our first show, that was kind of like when I was.
Wow. And you guys
solidified.
Were doing shows that young, you and John.
I think it wasn't until my senior year. So we'd been together, we've been playing together, singing together for probably at least 3 years, I would say. And that's kind of when we got like our first little show. We did this Halloween party at a friend's house, and they paid us. And we did all the songs that we knew, and then we did them again because we didn't have all that many songs. But we would go to, where Prairie Woods is. We would go there at night, and we'd sit on the docking thing where they come in, and we would just play to just these invisible audiences of nobody, and then we'd talk to them. It's embarrassing, but that's,
I love that.
We just
you
had
guys
so much
would
fun.
play to invisible audiences and talk to them. Now that is passion. That is passion that runs through your veins. That is so incredibly special. But even then, like I think now, just this summer, the several times that we saw you and the gift that you were, the joy, the light that you bring to people, but you've been at this for so long. You've been loving on people and bringing joy to them through the gift of music now for so many decades. What do you like better, playing guitar or singing? Oh. Or is that too hard to answer?
I think it is hard to answer because they go together. Like I don't walk around the house singing. Like my daughter used to do that, and now my son's kind of doing it, which I think is pretty cool. I don't, there's something weird in me where even though this is my career and this is my life, I don't go around the house singing. It's weird, but I feel like I'm embarrassed if I start singing aloud. So if I have my guitar, then it's a little bit easier. I just start doing it, and most of the time I'm working on a song then. But otherwise, I rarely would ever walk around singing. So I think that the guitar is probably my first love, because I didn't consider myself a singer even until while I was learning guitar. And then John and I just started singing together because I heard harmony, and I just loved doing harmony with him and going back and forth, him doing it, the other way too, when we did this duo. So.
So then you kept playing to real audiences, invisible audiences, and decided to go to St. Cloud State.
Yes.
And that's where you met Debbie. Tell us about a little bit about your college experience. Were you playing during college?
Oh, yeah.
And then meeting Debbie, I know she's the love of your life.
Absolutely,
and when I listen to you speak about her, something I really admire in you, you speak so honoring of her.
Oh,
you have such a special marriage.
She's the stronger one of both of us. I absolutely think that that's true. And she's inspiring to me, for things that she's been through, and just how joyful, my favorite thing about her is her laugh. Like if I can get her to laugh or, watch something that I know will make her laugh, it's music. It's my music is her laugh. So yeah, she's awesome. So yeah, we met at St. Cloud State. Was in a dorm my first year, and she worked at the dorm desk. And so she'd been at St. Cloud. She's 4 years older than me. She'd been there for 2 years, and she actually had been dating my neighbor. And so I found out he was breaking up with her, and I thought that was pretty sad. And I ended up watching them break up too, and because I knew it was happening. So I felt bad for her at that point. And then we just started talking, and honestly, my roommate started talking to her too, because we both liked her, you know. But just a real quick story, we ended up going out one night to a Perkins till 4 o'clock in the morning, and that was kind of our, it was like the date. And ever since then, we clicked. So that was in 91. So we've been together for whatever that math is. So we've been married for 26 years, and I think we've been together for almost 35 years. So
was it that night when you talked at Perkins till 4 a.m. that you told yourself, I'm going to marry this girl? Like you just knew. You just knew.
I suppose at that point, I was definitely looking for, the person. But I have to be honest and say I don't know if I would set them. But
sure.
Debbie did say that she wrote in her journal that I think I met the man that I'm going to marry. So she was right. She's on the ball. That's
you guys have been a very strong couple for Christ. You have a lot to be proud of.
We're thankful for him for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's part of such a big part of our marriage and our family. And it wasn't that back then. I will honestly be completely transparent and say that we just. I like to say, I think in college years, I was carrying God on like a little kite string at that point, even though I grew up in the church, was active in kind of our youth group. And I spent a lot of time at our church in the gymnasium playing basketball. John and I would go in there and we'd play guitar and sing because it had such great reverb in there. And so I was active in the church, but at the same time, I went through confirmation, and I just thought that I graduated into Christianity because I went through confirmation. So I guess it would be like in the traditional sense, a Christian. It's a traditional Christianity, but it's not following Christ. And that story came a little bit later on. So yeah, when we met Debbie, when we started dating, we were in the same boat. We both were confirmed. She is from White Bear Lake, and we just had that story. It's like we had church, but we didn't go at that point. But back to your question, when I was playing music in college, you did ask me about that, and I said, yeah, that's kind of where I just took my guitar with me everywhere. I had my guitar with me, and we would walk around campus, my roommate and I, which we became best friends too. We were just put together, Ryan, and we just went around campus everywhere together. I always had my guitar. So that's how I ended up picking up my first gig, if you will. I went down to downtown, one of the I think it was a coffee shop down in St. Cloud, Java Joint, I think is what it was, and did an open mic thing, just jumped up there and sang, and ended up getting a couple of other gigs around the area, ended up playing a lot of house parties at that time. So, which made going to school more difficult when you're up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you have a class at 9 in the morning. But
I love your courage. It took courage then to, yes, it was a passion, but I think we all have fear, and to put your courage ahead of your fear and put yourself out there at such a young age. And then people start to hire you. Do you remember being excited or scared? And if you weren't scared at all, it was probably such a passion that you just knew this is the journey that God has me on from a young age.
I will say this, I'll be completely transparent. It was just total arrogance. And not that I was going around being arrogant, but it was like, this is what I want to do. So even at that time, I wish I had the courage now that I had back then to be bold about those kinds of things, because I had confidence in myself of, I can go out and play a house party, but even now, I sometimes lack that confidence, that courage. And I don't know why that is. It's a weird thing. Maybe it's because I'm acknowledging that I did have a bit of arrogance. I think God wiped that out when I found him. But that's the honest truth about that part. I had the passion, and that's all I ever wanted to do, was to play in front of people. College was going through the motions of getting done with it so I could pursue that.
That's so vulnerable of you to say, and humbling of you to say, that you call it arrogance. I think we all go through seasons of our life that, we're overly confident or arrogant. And so I don't know if I agree with you. I can't even imagine you being arrogant. But like you say, at a young age, you had a tremendous amount of confidence. And probably looking back, you wonder where all that confidence came from. But how wonderful that you had it to put you on the life journey that you're on. Yeah. So then after college, when did you and Debbie, you got married sometime after college? And then tell us about when you came to Christ.
Okay. There's a lot of space in between there. So I'm just going to do a real quick. I left college.
Okay.
And after 2 years, because I got asked to be in a full-time band. So I traveled with this band called Genuine Leather and Lace for about 2.5 years. And that was just doing Holiday Inn circuits 6-7 nights a week. Back then when the clubs had that much music going on. And so then you'd stay in the hotel room, and I'd take my recording studio with me. And after we got done playing, I would just, continue this passion of learning, recording, and learning how to play and learning new songs. And I got tired of it because I was away from Debbie, for one thing, and we were doing the same thing. I don't think they were making that much money. And for me, doing the same sets over and over and over again got really repetitive. And I'm like, there's something more. There's something more in this. And at the same time, John had been writing kind of Christian type songs, but they were very intellectual. And so he had to dig deep into them, which fascinated me because I was fascinated with songwriting. I loved songwriters, James Taylor, John Denver. That was like how I learned to play guitar, Simon & Garfunkel, Paul Simon. And he was writing similar music, but with intellectual words that, glorified God in some way. So I'm like, I was very interested in that. And I had not come to Christ then, but that family was very influential in planting seeds and being Jesus
John's
to me.
Family.
John's family, yeah. And there were 2 families that I can think of that just extended amazing grace to me. I just an amazing amount of grace. I didn't even know what grace was back then, but there were times where I might not have been the best kid to hang around there, but they loved me unconditionally. And that was grace to me. And they also did stuff like read their Bible after lunch when I went over there. And I'm like, well, that's different. I'm like, who does that? And those things together kind of led me to quitting the band and kind of exploring this area of faith, trying to come back to it and just, trying to understand it. Because I just didn't get why am I not doing that? Why am I not feeling this? And so jumping ahead, after I quit the band, Debbie we'd gone to Arizona for about 5 months. She was student teaching. When we moved back here, she moved to her mom's, and then I went back to school and worked 2 jobs. And I was still what you would consider kind of dirt poor. You're just paying the rent, and that's all of the food that you have. And then you just have a minimal amount of, so I was on macaroni and bread, and that was it. And I had a mattress on the ground, and I had a little tiny TV set, and it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I'd watch this guy named Arnold Murray. It was Shepherd's Chapel is what it was. He wasn't charismatic. He just kind of said it like it was. He just had a Bible in front of him. And so he was just reading through it. And I'm like, well, it's interesting. It was intriguing to me. People would ask questions and he would answer them. Sometimes he wasn't even that kind. He was a little crass. So there was no charismatic in this at all. And I just kept listening to him for some reason. You just happened to
be watching TV?
Well, I kept going back to him.
Okay.
I would do this night after, because there's nothing to watch back then. I only had a little bit of TV. And one day, he just started talking. I don't know if it was Ephesians 2:8-9. And he was talking about, that we're saved by grace through faith, not of our works, so that nobody can boast. And I had not heard that before. I thought God was kind of this overseer of everything, and I kind of had to watch what I was doing, or I didn't know where I was going to end up, that kind of thing, And so he was talking about certainty, and he was also talking about having a relationship with Christ, with Jesus. And I'd never heard that. Like we could have a relationship with God, like we could talk to him in that, like in a real sense, and not just say traditional prayers. And I remember that I prayed because I accepted Christ that night. It was probably 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was transformed, like the Bible says, Paul says, we are a new creation in Christ. And I was just like, I just felt it. I felt like the Holy Spirit, even though I didn't know what the Holy Spirit was at that time, completely transformed. And I had nobody to tell because I lived in a house with 4 other people that I didn't really even know. So,
as I look at the tears in your eyes, you're bringing tears to my eyes.
Yeah. But I mean, it was life-changing. And I want to say, like, from that point on, I got all better, but it didn't. But I had hope, and I had like this, a lot of fears were swept away from me at that point too, when I started learning more. Because even when you become a Christian, even though you're transformed, a lot of your life still needs cleaning up. Mm-hmm. I mean, it still needs cleaning up. Mm-hmm. I think all of us, as you say, we're all a work in progress till we die. Mm-hmm. And I think that's totally true. Mm-hmm. So,
then did you tell someone, Jeff?
Like I said, I had nobody to tell, so I wrote a song instead. So that just to kind of get that out, Mm. And so then I told.
That is so cool.
Told people after the fact, after I had written this song. But again, I didn't know that, like, you should tell somebody after that, and so that was kind of my faith beginning, like having that relationship with Jesus, and that fueled everything that I did after that point. And so a little bit after that, Debbie and I joined a band. She moved back to St. Cloud area. We joined a band that was just kind of a weekend band, but it was a great band. It was called Keystone out of St. Cloud. We really enjoyed that. I should say I joined the band, and then about a year and a half into it, our lead singer, Paula, I was married to the bass player, Russ, and she was pregnant with her first baby, so she had to leave the band, and so they asked Debbie to step in. So Debbie got to be part of that band.
I did not know that. Uh-huh. Debbie, when you listen to this, I'm sorry. I did not realize that Debbie was a part of the band.
Yeah, she got to.
How cool is that?
Yeah, I think that was kind of a dream for her to do that, and she actually learned a little bit of keyboard, but she was fronting the band with me, and it was such a fun band. And
do you ever think of having her join you today?
She joins us on Facebook Live. Yeah.
Does she?
Yep.
Oh, that's so
Every
wonderful.
once in a while, when we started doing that, we'd have her come up and sing. And every once in a while, she'll sing harmonies. But yeah, I like that. And people do ask her about this. She gets a little bit nervous about it unless we have rehearsal of some kind. And so when these Facebook Lives come up, it's always, hey, we have Facebook Live tonight. We don't get a chance to rehearse.
I love that she's included at times and was part of your story way back when. And now to be using the gift together as a couple on Facebook Live. Yeah. That's so fun and something that we'll all watch for. So then she was a part of the band.
She was part of the band, yep. And as we were going there, we had a spring break. We went on a vacation to go visit Nashville because I'm still working on my music career. I'm not just like playing. I have visions in my head of what I want to do, where I want to be, And at that point, I had definitely in my head said, God, if I make it to a certain point, that I want to be able to glorify you through this in some way. So that was kind of like my goal. That was, no matter what happens, this is what I want to do, to glorify you and just make your name known. Even though at that time I didn't know it all, but I just knew who I was.
Didn't that take some of the pressure off? But there was still pressure.
No, I think there's almost more pressure at that time because then you really want to do it. It's not just about yourself anymore. It's about God too. So like when you have those things, I think that you work extra hard at trying to get there. And so we visited there and we both loved it. So a year later we moved there and started our Nashville journey. And that was,
Tell us about that.
That was an amazing, it's probably one of my favorite times of definitely my favorite time of my entire career, because I got pulled into so many different directions. We were there for about 6.5 years. So the first year I was just kind of putting out feelers, going to places, just discovering, and not going around saying, hey, I'm a singer, which I think some people do, and maybe they're successful. That just wasn't who I am. So I would get to know and build some relationships. We'd always end up at this place called the Fiddle and Steel Guitar Bar in Printers Alley, which is a couple blocks up from Broadway. And they had a band. The guy who led the band was part owner of the club, and he was funny, and they were just a lot of fun. So we'd always end up back there. It wasn't a big bar either. It was pretty small at that time. And so one of the guys who was not bar backing, it was just one of the separate, there's 3 owners of this bar, Greg and Allison and Bruce. Greg's the one who played. And so we got to know them. We didn't tell them much about us, just we're from Minnesota. And then somewhere within that next year, we visited on a Wednesday, and there was this girl playing there, and there was nobody else in the bar. We walked in, and there was nobody there except for the bartender and this girl who was singing, and she was a great singer. And somehow Debbie told her that I was a singer. That's how it came out. She's like, oh, do you want to come up, or you should come up and sing. That's how she did. She's like, she didn't ask me. She says, you're going to come up here and sing. I'm like, okay. So I sang a song, and she's like, that was good. Do another one. So I played for like a half an hour.
Sure.
She's like, come back next Wednesday. And so we started doing a duo together on Wednesdays. And then another friend came into the scene. His name was Steve Stokes. He's just a phenomenal fiddle player, classical guitar or classical violin player. And he sang too. So we had we formed a group called Acoustically Sound. And we had that for quite a while. And they asked me to start playing on Fridays there too. So I became kind of a staple of that club. And wow. So it was my home club. And they were a big family. Even on Christmas and Easter's, a lot of us couldn't go back home. So they would have people over at I can remember for Easter, one of the owners had us over to her house for Easter, and a bunch of people were there. But I will tell you that particular club was like a growing pot for country artists.
Really?
Because Rascal Flatts were playing down there on Tuesday nights. They were called Deuces Wild at the time. And I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yes.
Okay. But they had not had a record deal yet. And they came up on Wednesdays every once in a while, because we'd always invite other artists to come up here and join in. I couldn't do Tuesday nights because I was playing out by Opryland and doing music full time. And then they got their record deal. Trent Tomlinson played next door. He came into town. He was a great songwriter. Him and I had some songwriting discussions. He actually tried to get me a publishing deal with his company, Eric Church. Eric's brother worked the door at the Fiddle and Steel Guitar Bar, and Eric was just trying to do the same thing. He's an excellent writer. He's a great writer, and he'd come in and sit in, play some songs. I remember sharing the stage with him. I had him come up and play, and he was just another guy. We were all just other musicians and players until you kind of get your record deal or your publishing deal, and then they're kind of gone. But a lot of the cool thing about that is Rascal Flatts, they would come back to the Fiddle and Steel. And Eric Church right now just opened up a club in the last year in Nashville, and he has the original Fiddle and Steel neon sign, because the fiddle is not there anymore. The place that owned it tore it down and wanted to put condominiums up there. But that was a big time. The Fiddle and Steel was great.
Jeff, I couldn't be more proud of you and Debbie. Like growing up in Kansas County, here where I grew up, and then going to Nashville and being a big part of Fiddle and Steel and meeting all those people. Do you remember being excited and just like thinking, oh my gosh, here I am, and this is this is a big deal. What was going through your heart and head at that time?
I was thrilled about the whole thing. I was so, it was a magical time because I was able to record at home, do studios, record albums, get other musicians from my network of people to come over and, start playing their instruments on my songs and just recording. That was fantastic. I worked with BMI. They hooked me up with songwriting with another guy in an office. So everything that was going on was all music at that point. And it was fantastic. I mean,
I know the Lord took you out of Nashville, and we're going to be excited to hear about that. But do you and Debbie miss it? Do you ever get back to visit?
I miss Nashville. We went back in 2017, and Danielle was born in Nashville. And so we wanted to show her where she was born and where we lived. And we had an old church parsonage that we rented out there. And I should say this too. One of the things that was really helpful to us was a guy who already lived there who's from this area. And his name's Jason. His original name is Jason Setfight. I don't know if you know that name or not. But his name is Jason Kyle now. And he is an award-winning producer, engineer, multi-award-winning producer, engineer. He's got a great voice. Are you familiar with the group Selah?
Yes.
Yes. So he's the one who does the production and engineering for them. And I got to see them the first time or not the first time, but one of the first times they were rehearsing, just that group together, because Jason was roommates with the piano player, Alan, at that time. But he's somebody that you should check out. And he helped us out while we were down there and just kind of toured us around a little bit. So that was always nice to have that here. And so he is somebody from this town, I would say, who's, done some amazing things. You should talk to him.
I would love to reach out to him.
He's a great
Thank
guy.
you for
of course.
saying that. So when you were in Nashville, I know you and Debbie had a lot to be proud of there and built a lot of strong relationships. Then how was the Lord knocking on your heart? Like you said, Danielle was born there.
Yes.
So life was changing a bit, being a parent and a dad and a husband. But what do you remember kind of the knock on your heart and God calling you back to Minnesota? Tell us more about that.
I will. Yeah, the beauty of playing in Nashville is, it's the Bible Belt. And the people in the South are just very kind. And that's what I loved. I mean, I love people anyways, but I love the people in Nashville. And so we were looking for a church when Debbie was pregnant, and we went to this one place called Woodmont Baptist Church, and they were on TV. So we'd watched them on TV for a while. And then we went there. It was just like a cable station thing. So it wasn't like one of those televangelist type thing. It was just a genuine church. And, the pastor came when Daniel was born. The pastor visited us in the hospital. We thought that was phenomenal because he's got a pretty big crowd in that church, community of believers. And Debbie ended up getting saved in that church. It was pretty amazing because just probably like few months, 4 or 5 months after that, they had an altar call and she went up there, and it was just it was pretty amazing. And so that was
at the church in Nashville.
At the church in Nashville.
Wow.
So we got really involved in that church. I was part of the youth ministry, running sound for the youth group because they had a worship band, which another guy came out of that band. His name's Russell Dickerson. So his dad was the music director. He's a pretty famous guy now too. And so just being involved with youth, one of the things I really remembered about that was that youth group would get together and they would do prayer requests, which is something I was not familiar with at all. And they would pray for each other in this group. And they were the ones who were accepting Christ by themselves in that church. And they weren't kind of just pushed through that way. And it was just really amazing to see that. And that strengthened my faith. But to answer your question about why we left Nashville, because I loved everything that was going on. And really my reason for being there was to be a songwriter and also to be an artist. So one night I was at the Fiddle and Steel after the show, or after we were all done. It was probably 3:00 in the morning. And a lot of the times we'd go around afterward, not a lot of times, but we'd play songs that we had written, little, just bounce stuff off of each other. And this guy approached me who had just started a new record company, and he wanted me to be an artist. And he was forming this band that were all songwriters, they were all singers, and they all played their own instruments. Kind of like an Eagles type of thing, which I was just like, wow, that's like, if I wanted to ever do anything, that would be like what I would love to do. Because I love doing harmony, I loved writing, I loved, singing and having that dynamic. So this was kind of a dream come true for me. It really was. I was just so excited. I met the engineer, and the engineer actually went to our church, which is pretty cool. And so I remember having this was in the spring of 2004. So we'd already been there for 6 years. And I was having this meeting with the guy who had, wanted to sign me. And this is kind of where I was going to do it. And Danielle was two years old at the time. And Debbie was working at a business management firm down in Nashville. So we were doing pretty good. And he was talking about details and all this stuff. I honestly can't remember what the details were, like how this whole thing did, because this moment shook me so much. But it was nighttime. We were driving away from the place. I was just by myself driving, and God just stopped me. Like, he didn't audibly speak to me, but I'm sure you had those whispers or nudges. And he said that my daughter needed a dad, and that my wife needed a husband. And it just shook me. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I would say we left Nashville like 3 months later, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, I'm doing what I love to do. So it's been a blessing.
Jeff, the Lord's provision.
Yeah.
He was watching over you. And something I admire greatly in you is not all people, I don't think most of them, would have taken the road you did. You heard Debbie needed a husband, Danielle needed a dad. You took the less glamorous fork. You took there was less fame, I'm sure less money, less glamour. But Jeff, in my heart of hearts, and I know everyone would say this that's listening, you took the right fork in the road.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you for listening to that call and saying yes to the right fork in the road.
Yeah. God has definitely had,
and you felt blessed since
absolutely.
then.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I absolutely made the right decision for sure. Because my daughter and I have a good relationship, and my son and I have a good relationship. I was always able to be at home with them. I was an at-home dad the whole time for them. And so I love that aspect, something I kind of always wanted to do anyways, just have a family. And yeah, whenever God's kind of given me those nudges, it's never like something I want to do, It's like, oh, I want to go do that. Yeah, God, that's a great idea. It's usually something I don't want to do. And so that was my first acknowledgement that God speaks to us. And so, yeah, it was definitely a blessing being able to be down there, experience all of that. So that was the blessing in it. It really was. That was just that time, that journey, that brought me kind of to where I am now. And I can see how God has used that experience to be where I'm at now, but also just to be wholeheartedly listening to him in what I'm doing and how I'm doing. My life verse is Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but seek his will in everything that you do, and he will make your path straight. And that's kind of I think that's my outlook on life, is try to, if I come across something, just ask him and see if he'll speak to you or put something in your path, to do that.
At 52, you are so full of wisdom. And I will say too, this isn't to make you feel good. I speak for countless people, so receive my words. Had you not left Nashville, we all in, greater Minnesota as an entire state. I know you perform in many different states. we would not have had the blessing of Jeff James. And I said this at the beginning, but I want to say it again. You are just salt and light. You have a gift. You bring joy. You've been such a gift and such a blessing to countless people. And so we've been the recipient of that no in Nashville. And I want you to feel really proud of what you and Debbie have done here back in the Midwest. And you've honored Christ in everything you've done. And we're so proud of your family and so proud of you professionally. Tell us what it's like, in your words, to be a dad. I know Danielle and James bring you so much joy. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I think that they were kind of like my core purpose for a long time. And I did my job. I did my work job, playing guitar and singing and stuff. But especially when they're younger, because they brought me a lot of joy. And they brought me a lot of pain, too. But that's just the journey of parenthood, too, I think. And just watching them grow, and like they're so different. You have two, and I imagine that both Elsie and Harris are different from each other. So different. Yeah. The same with Danielle and James. And in good ways, in fantastic ways, really. James is a lot more like me. We both have ADD, but I think people that have ADD, they have this ability to hyperfocus on passions. And so this is where I'm at, doing what I do because I had that hyperfocus of having a passion to play guitar, a passion to want to do more than with just the guitar and singing. That's where live looping came in, where I started doing that because I'm like, I want more, I want a band. I want to play with the band, but I can't play with the band and do it for, a living. And so created my own. But yeah, just having kids and trying to teach them, trying to be Jesus to them. But it's hard. I think it's hard as a dad sometimes to do that too. I think it's easier to be Jesus to everybody around you, but within your own family, because there's a certain dynamic that you can show, what you do. Like, are you reading your Bible? Are you going to church? Are you, maybe being in a small group, which we were in small group for 10 years, just modeling what it means to be a Christian. And with one thing with my kids is that if I made a mistake, I would always ask them, I'm sorry. And, will you forgive me? Because I wanted to model that. I don't know if everybody agrees with that, but I just wanted to be honest in that sense and never lie to your kids either. If you have to, I don't know, even like the whole Santa thing, never went that direction. We introduced him, but we never said Santa was real, so it's because that's lying too. Yeah, that was part of being a dad, and then just watching them grow up. And I don't know, I loved that time in my life. Now they're both grown up, but we still have great relationships, and I still want to see them, and they both still want to see me. So, I mean, just to get to that point is I think a win to a certain extent. You're awesome parents. You have kids to be very proud of. Debbie's a great mom. She's fantastic. Yep. When you moved back to Minnesota, give us a little bit. Then when did the live looping start? And what was life like when you moved back? When did you start the live looping? And then explain to our listeners, I know what live looping is, but I want you to be able to explain it. Oh, for sure. We moved back in 2004, and we moved to the cities, which I'd never even been. I mean, obviously been to the cities, but musically never been. And so I had to find work because I had nothing, and I thankfully picked up some weekend gig at a place in the cities, a couple different places in the city. So that helped us get an anchor hold. Debbie got a job right away. And that was hard because it was like diving into a pool again, and like nobody knows you, and you have to prove yourself again. So that was kind of like Nashville, you got to prove yourself, and diving back in, same deal, like nobody knows who you are. And so thankfully I just picked up work, and even around this area, that helped out. Just starting at O'Neill's. I've been playing O'Neill's for 20 years now, I think.
and I was at Melvin's too. So having those places were great because I got to come home and see my parents, but also just see people around here and start to build a good following around here. So that was a huge blessing. And then, so that was 2004. 2007, I saw a guy doing some looping to a small extent, and he was just hitting the back of his guitar and playing the guitar, and it would record it. And I'm like, well, gosh, if I could do that, then I wouldn't have to work so hard. When I have a big crowd, like say at Melvin's, there was big crowds there, and it's 12 o'clock at night, and you're trying to drive the music, and everybody's loud, and this would just like, I could get a kick drum going. And so I wanted to do that right away. I'm like, yes. And so I started just investigating into it, looking at different videos from different artists who were live loopers professionally. And I bought a loop station, and I will explain what it is in a second, but I bought a loop station and spent 6 months in the studio, and I was so frustrated with it. I was like, oh, I can't do it. It just kept screwing up, and it didn't do what I wanted it to do. And I tried so many songs with it. And then it hit me, if I tried something a little bit differently and just don't use it the way it's supposed to be used, use it a different way. And then that took off. So, and then part of that was too, is like, you're going to make mistakes, but you have to be able to just be willing to have the courage to go out there, make mistakes, and just move on, And I'd seen like professional artists. I remember watching Garth Brooks doing a song on a talk show, and he forgot the words to his song, So I'm like, well, if Garth can do that, it's not that big of a deal if I do it. And so live looping, for those of you who don't know what live looping is, I tell people, like, say you had, because a lot of my audience is over 50 or at least 40, say you had 3 tape recorders all sitting in a row, and you pushed record on one of them. And for me, I would start out with like a beat going like like that, and then I would play a kick over that, and it would, when I did record and I pushed it again, it would just kind of keep looping that same thing, that same drum pattern. And then I would play some drums over that, and then I could go to my second recorder and I could play guitar over that. And then when I hit that, it'll continue to play the loop of that guitar. And say, and you can overdub on that, put more stuff. Right now I'm playing drums on there. I'm playing bass guitar. I'm playing electric guitar. I'm playing lead over it. I have a second mic, and I can do harmonies and sing with myself. So that's kind of the basis of live looping. Is you start the song, you create the band behind it, and then by the time you're, in the middle, it's a full band sound. So that's the way that I use live looping. Everybody uses it a little bit differently.
I can't even imagine. Like, that just sounds so technical, so crazy, stressful. Very few people have the talent to do what you do. And what's so fun when we listen to you, it, like you said, all that's going on that we can't even imagine, all that you're creating, all that you do. And it just sounds like you're, like you said, part of an entire band. And so thank you for staying with the frustration. And you really bring so much joy. The other thing that my husband and I are so amazed at when we listen to you, Jeff, is the different types. Like, you sing like all types of music. Your voice is amazing, and you just have been an incredible blessing. What is your favorite type of music? Mm-hmm. My husband's favorite song that you do is Purple Rain. He loves all of them, but absolutely loves when you sing Purple Rain. Do you get nervous? And what is your favorite type of music if you had to pick? Maybe it's too hard.
Yeah, I mean, the question that I would jump to right away is, do I get nervous? And when I'm at settings that I'm comfortable with, like if I'm playing local club where I know that there's people there, or even when I go out to what used to be Glacier Ridge Winery, which is now The Land, and is now a new place, I'm not nervous there because I'm excited, because I know that people are coming to see me. If I go to a new place that nobody's ever seen me, then I get a little bit nervous, just because nobody knows me, and so you're kind of reproving yourself to the people there, so you can hope you can come back. And my favorite, I think if I was sitting by myself at home, I'm doing blues guitar because I love it. I love John Mayer. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan, David Gilmour. Not necessarily a blues player, but I do love electric guitar. I do love acoustic guitar too. And I think the reason for that is because when you're doing a cover song, which is just somebody else's song, a lot of the times that song is the same all the way through. And it's always the same. Even if you're playing certain lead guitar, you play like the lead guitar of the song. But with blues, you can be different every single time. And I'm an artist also, like a drawer, painter. And so it's like painting a new canvas every time you start the song. You just try like new colors and see how it all turns out. And that's what blues guitar is to me, is every single time you just play different notes and just create a whole new masterpiece doing that. So I think that's why I like playing blues. But variety, I couldn't do blues all night. Variety is so great. I love, just like the world. The world is variety. And there's beauty in it, in every, all throughout the world. And so music's that way too. You find different music and you just find the beauty in it. And that's probably why I pick the songs that I do. Mm-hmm. And Purple Rain is one of those songs that I always end the night with. And that one doesn't get old. Like that was the one song that every note is the same all the way through. But I just have a lot of fun with it, a lot of energy. The interesting story is I never did that song until I moved back from Nashville because Trent Tomlinson, who is a Nashville artist, used to do that song. So he'd sit in with our band and like he would sing it. And I'm like, that's awesome. It's amazing. I never touched it because I thought he did a great job. So then when I brought it back, when I came back here, I'm like, I should try that song and see how it goes. But yeah.
The other thing I think is interesting, in addition to your musical talent and your incredible voice that really shines through every performance, is your love of people. Mm-hmm. You just have a love of people. It's maybe like nights that I do fundraising auctions where you drive back home and you're just so excited. I also have a love of people. When you drive back home after a performance, does it take hours to unwind? Do you sing in the car? What do you do in the car when you drive back home?
Honestly, I'm done with music at that point.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I would do, at one point before like podcasts and YouTube, actually podcasts were there, I would listen to like messages from churches around the world, around the country, just like some of my favorites, because I was kind of done with that. Or I'd stick an audiobook on or something along those lines, because I just wanted to do something, because all the way to the gig, I'm listening to music to kind of give that muse to be ready. But then I'm winding down and listening to something else. So that's kind of what I do. And I want to say thank you too, just for your kind words. And I also want to say this too, because you're talking about bringing joy to people. And yeah, that's absolutely my goal, is to be light and to bring joy through music, because that's what music does. It invokes emotion. And if I can do that for people, then I feel like I've succeeded in what I do, is bringing light and evoking emotion. But I don't think that people realize this end of it either, is that the joy that I get, not just out of playing, is seeing people come to my shows. People who know me, who repeatedly, like I can name so many people right now that have come out to, different shows. I've had a couple of people around here who've driven to Alexandria to see me, driven to Maple Grove to see me. And that's what brings me joy I might be enjoying the music and trying my best to bring joy to others. But I just want to say thanks to the people that come out to see me, because it's just, they make my day. If I have like one person or two people that come to a club that I haven't played at, or maybe I don't get as many people there, that makes my night. So I love that. Very important to me.
You sincerely bring joy and entertainment and light to countless people. Couple more things. Mm-hmm. I know you have a love of Haiti.
Yeah.
Tell us about your love of Haiti and what you're currently working on there for us to consider.
Sure. My journey in Haiti started back in 2011. It was a year after the earthquake had just completely devastated the country. I think over 400,000 people died. That's not even recorded, but people down there know that. And so there was a guy from my church back in the cities that him and his wife back in 2007 went down to Haiti because they were invited to come and see it. And when they came back, they were like, we can't not do something. So they started this organization called Healing Haiti. And one of the things that they do is they deliver water to one of the poorest areas in the entire Western Hemisphere. It was in the world for a long time. And it's a place called Cité Soleil that has about at least a couple of 100,000 people living on less than $1 a day. And the people have no or limited access to water. So we have water trucks that go into these areas. People would line up their buckets, like 5-gallon pails, and we would deliver water to them. So in 2011, our church was doing a mission trip informational meeting, and we were in church, and they just happened to mention it. And I have people in my life that have planted seeds in going on mission trips, and I'm like, I'd love to do that someday. But so God kind of tapped me on the shoulder there and said, you need to go to this. And so I told Debbie, I think I need to go to this meeting because it wasn't our plan to do that. And so I went there. They were going to go to Ukraine, Guatemala, or Haiti. And I didn't want to go to Haiti because I'd seen movies about Haiti or, something about it. And it was all scary and that kind of, thing. But my dates were already booked for Guatemala and Ukraine. So I'm like, okay, God, you've got me. You have to pull me through this. And there were spiritual attacks during that time of after signing up, trying to get money and that kind of, which was a big obstacle for us, is trying to raise enough money to go. And it wasn't coming. And all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, just a flood came in and God provided. But it was just that overcoming that fear and just knowing that God had this. So I went to Haiti and I was completely broken. I mean, I hadn't, just one thing, and you've been through this situation before, you've seen this. I was helping a girl who was probably about 16 years old, and the streets of Haiti are just, in Cité Soleil, it's very tough. It's like corrugated tin shacks. So I was helping her bring a bucket of water to her little corrugated shack, which is no more than like a fish house size, an old fish house size. And I got in there, and she kind of pointed to a corner, and it was a dirt floor, and there were just a couple of pans there, and that was it. She just put the water in there, and that's all she had, and she's living by herself. So that whole situation, it was just. And the thing about that was, and I bet you've experienced this too, though, is even though that they have nothing, they were like some of the happiest kids I'd ever seen. They were happy to see us, and the people were happy to see us. And even though we couldn't speak the language at the time, like that was my first thing I wanted to do, is to learn the language so I could communicate with them and talk to them. And so our interpreter was teaching me throughout the week how to say certain things. And of course I wanted to learn how to say Jésus Remu, Jesus loves you, to these kids, to the kids. And so one of the times when I was going around, these kids were following me, and they just for fun, we were just kind of dancing, and all of a sudden I would say, Jésus Remu, and they all said, oui. They'd all, like, Jesus loves you. And every one of them, like, automatically said, yes, oui.
You'll never forget them saying that.
And I do remember being on our little top, which is our little truck that drives around, and thinking I could do this all day for the rest of my life. This is kind of where Jesus would be, is just walking those streets.
And I will say to our listeners, if people have an interest in hearing more about Jeff's love of Haiti and all the kingdom work that you've done there, I know you'd be thrilled to share with anyone and to reach out to you to learn more about your experiences there and how people might get involved. Jeff, I don't think I've done this with a guest yet. I didn't plan to do this, but early in the conversation, I said, what are you excited about? And you talked about being excited about maybe what God has currently or next, and that it excites you.
Yeah.
Without telling us any Jeff James secrets, I suppose for good health, your voice, is there any prayer requests that you want to leave us with? Personal or professional prayer requests that you want to put on us?
I think one thing I've learned just over the years is that God does provide, because we've been in several situations where we have, we may not have enough, and God comes through and he provides. So I think that I'm always willing to work. So work is one of those things that we always pray about at home, just for God's provision in those areas for work and, health, as you say, of course. Yeah. But to allow me to continue to do what I do for a living, and just to glorify him in every way that I can, for our family and for the health of our family members, for my wife. And,
Something I think that God has clearly blessed you with, because you don't make it about you and you make it all about him, and you use your talent for his glory, and you love people so well. He's clearly blessed you in this journey, and that ripple effect has been far and wide and deep and immeasurable. And so thank you again for all the light and the joy. I already told you, but quickly when I started this, I was like, Jamie, I want to dig into the heart of Jeff James, because there is so many layers to you. We see this singer that brings joy and this amazing musician, songwriter, but there is many layers and a lot of depth to the person you are, and excited to celebrate you. So on the One Pebble podcast, we give the guests the opportunity to throw out the last pebble of encouragement. Like I said, you and I are 52, and we're going to die a work in progress.
Yes.
My dad would say that we're still wet behind our ears, Jeff. We still have more wisdom and, God willing, years on this earth. But we have lived a lot of life, and you've been through a lot of experiences. What encouragement do you have for the listener that, you've taken steps forward? You've said yes to courage. For the people out there that are listening to your courage, and they might not, they're more than likely not going to go out and be a musician like you, but they're considering their next why, and they're considering their next dream, or taking that next risk or leap of faith. You've done that throughout your entire life, and you've been blessed because of that courage that you've had. What encouragement or last pebble do you have for our listeners?
I would say, especially if you're young, there's a song by Bebo Norman called "The Hammer Holds." And it's about the nail that went through Christ's hand. It's all about what the nail thinks its purpose is, as opposed to what God's purpose is. And not always, going for what we think the outcome should be, but listening to and bringing God with you, and making him kind of the forefront of what you want, but making sure that he is guiding you in the direction that he wants you to be. That if that's any inspiration to somebody, that's the important thing. And we don't see that when we're young, because we have these ambitions, things that we want to do. We don't see how God is working behind the scenes. And so I think that allowing him to lead, completely trusting in him for everything that you have, that's a big part of it. And then while you're doing that, to look for, this is the Haiti part in me probably, to look for people who are not seen. Look for the unseen. Look for the least of these, and love them. Because a lot of the times those people don't get seen, and they probably need the love the most. So I would say that's probably like one of the most important things.
Oh, third time you brought me to tears. I couldn't have said it better myself. Such good advice straight from the bottom of your heart. I didn't plan to do one more thing, but I'm going to do it.
Sure.
Will you leave us with 30 seconds of one of your favorite songs? Then we'll sign off. I would be so remiss if I didn't ask you to do that. People love your voice.
Wow.
No pressure, Jeff.
I have a guitar, but I should have brought it in.
Why didn't I ask you to do that? We're going to do a part 2 someday.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. I can give you I can see if I can give you a bit of a song that I wrote for somebody asked me to write a song for a girl to sing down in Haiti for a worship service. And so he wanted me to do a worship song and God gave me this song. So I will try my best to do this. I've never done an a cappella. And
you didn't plan on me asking you, but if anyone can do it, it's you.
All right. Well, the beauty of this is we can edit the whole thing out if it just is a train wreck.
No.
All right. The song is called I Trust in You. So we'll see how I can get through it. Lord, take my life and set me down in the middle of where you want me to be. 'Cause I'm just a child without a home, traveling along this path prepared for me. And in the valley all my fears will be surrendered. And in my weakness all my strength will come from you. I'm not alone, your promise is that you are with me. I'm not afraid, your word is deep within my soul. I trust in you, Jesus, it's you that I will live for. I'm not alone, I'm not afraid. To live is Christ, to die is gain. I'm not alone, I'm not afraid. I trust in you. Anyways.
Jeff James. Wow. You brought me to tears for the 4th time. Goosebumps.
Thank you.
We are so proud of you. Thank you for the blessing that you are to the kingdom and countless people. God's richest blessings to you, to Debbie, Danielle, James, and your ministry.
Thank
you.
All glory to God.
This has been such a joy.
Thank you, as well for me. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This has been the One Pebble Podcast. One pebble, so many ripples. What will you do to make a difference?